Hello, and welcome to the Real Estate and Business Success Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Jimmerrson, your Southeast Alabama luxury realtor with first-class real estate wiregrass. In this podcast, we're diving deep into the intersection of real estate and business to uncover what makes successful entrepreneurs tick. Each week, I'll be interviewing top business owners and investors from the Wiregrass region and beyond, exploring how they've achieved enduring success and how their strategies can apply to both real estate and other industries. Whether you're a real estate professional or a business enthusiast, get ready to gain valuable insights, discover new strategies, and elevate your own success. Let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to the Real Estate and Business Success Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Jimmerrson. Thanks for tuning in today, whether you're listening in or watching in my video on YouTube at Wiregrass Veteran Realtor. Today, I have with me Kurt Byers, Head of Partnerships and Industry Development at New Western and Real Estate, and he's also a real estate investor as well. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. So what initially sparked your interest in real estate?
Yeah, so as a kid and as an adult, I moved a lot, 8 times as a kid, 5 times as an adult. And it was always, you're always in a new house, you're always in a new apartment, you're always moving. And it just was always fascinating to me to kind of look at the real estate markets. And funny enough, I've actually lived in 30% of the markets we're in at New Western. So, 10 different markets we're in, I've lived there and either bought a house or rented a house. So I have a pretty good kind of lay of the land, and I've always been interested in it. My wife's mom and grandma are both realtors, and then one of my best friends, Seth Mitchell, he's the VP of Business Intelligence here. He actually sent me a role here and was like, "Hey, you'd be perfect for it." So my wife and our 3 kids, we moved up here from Tampa and up to Dallas, and just kind of never looked back, and it's been amazing here ever since. So the real estate industry is something I'm a really big fan of. So it's kind of a perfect synergy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you definitely got a lot of background in it. So you're head of partnerships and industry development at New Western. What does New Western do?
Yeah, so New Western is a real estate investment marketplace. We're the largest private marketplace for investment properties in the country. We have about 200,000 investors on there. And what we do is we go out and we find investment type properties that need rehab or renovation, financially motivated, however you wanted to say that. And we basically sell those to our investors. So we'll buy it with cash and sell it to our investors. And we've been around since 2008. We've done 17 billion in transactions.
Wow.
We buy and sell a house every 13 minutes. So we're big on volume and we're big on helping investors. And that's always kind of been our main goal. So we've just kind of doubled down on that and never looked back.
That's awesome. Wow. What'd you say? Did you say 17 billion?
Yeah.
And that's a lot. That's crazy. So you'll definitely have a successful network built there.
Yeah.
So you worked extensively in building partnerships. What do you think makes for a successful partnership in real estate, and how can agents leverage these collaborations?
Yeah, so I think what really makes a good partnership is understanding your product and understand the different ways your product can help a partner. So if your product is, for us specifically in the distressed and motivated rehab type space, there's a lot of partners out there that, need to sell those types of properties, or partners that need to buy those types of properties. But there's also people that aren't monetizing these types of houses because they're not going to be ones that their business would traditionally go after. So if we can become kind of a key to their missing piece to where they're passing on all these leads, whereas now they can monetize them because they can send those to us. We can help them monetize every lead compared to some people that might just be passing on that revenue. So really trying to figure out, is it going to be beneficial to both parties? Yes or no? If it's just beneficial to you, you got to make sure there's some sort of revenue coming to them. But if it's obviously mutually beneficial and you both can make money, that's fantastic as well. But understanding the key ingredients to a partnership without just kind of trying to vulture off someone, I think is really the benefit there. And then how agents can leverage that is some of that, the missing piece as far as not monetizing leads. I think there's a really big opportunity for agents to find people like New Western or different collaborations out there where if it's going to be a property that's difficult to list, send it our way. We'll buy it for cash. We can close in 7 days. We try to make it really easy. We pay the seller's closing costs. So things like that is to where you might traditionally pass on a house. Now you can monetize it every time and help your seller in any situation. So those are kind of the two pieces to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely gives realtors another revenue stream. So that way they're not missing out on something like you said. What do you think is the biggest misconception that real estate agents or investors have about working with distressed properties?
So yeah, it's probably, I'd say that there isn't as much of an opportunity there. Distressed properties can, they're typically bought as is. They're typically going to be a headache. So if an agent is looking at a distressed property and they're talking to the seller and it's like, hey, this is going to probably take $50,000, $60,000 of work just to get it ready to list, instead of going into that conversation and being like, this is going to be a headache, I'm going to be a 2-month project manager, but at least I'll get the listing. You can go and say, this might take 50, 60,000 to list, but there are other options. And if someone like a New Western or another cash buyer or an investor can come in, they want to do those renovations. And so those renovations are something that they're masterful at. They have the processes in place to get those done quickly. And so to get out of that situation without having to put up that upfront capital and instead just get a cash offer. So it's really, if there's the misconception about distressed properties, I think it's the fact that it's going to be a headache. But if you're going about it the right way, I think you can really make it more of a moneymaker instead of a headache. And then for investors, I think a lot of people are looking at distressed properties as something that can't make them as much on the market for rentals, or they're looking at it to where they don't maybe have the process in place to take on a fixer-upper, whereas they just want turnkey, they want top value. But you're missing out on a lot of equity there. So if you're buying top of the market as your everyday buyer and then just want to turn it into a rental, you are basically solely relying on the cash flow to make that a good investment. Whereas if you bought a distressed property, you can take that property and buy it at a lower percent to ARV. You can do the repairs and then you can come out with 30,000 in equity, and then you can cash flow on top of it. So it's not requiring a really good cash flow, which can be tough in this market, to make that a successful investment. You can start adding your portfolio with distressed properties by adding equity and then finding the right deals to add cash flow. And then you have a better performing, longer lasting portfolio.
Yeah, it definitely opens you up to a lot more. I can see how that works. With everything that's going on in the market right now, a lot of people have been saying for a long time, they're waiting for the market to crash, waiting for the market to crash. What trends are you currently seeing in the real estate market, particularly in the investment and rehab space, that investors should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there's a lot going on as far as the election and the rate cut recently, but that hasn't really changed the prices. They're probably honestly going to go up a little. If they go down, that'd be great for us too. But as far as it goes, I mean, you're looking at trends that are probably going to stay higher price. The demand is probably not going to get any better because the supply side just isn't really there yet. So the trend we're seeing a lot on our end is that the fix and flip type home, or bringing homes back to the market that are vacant or distressed, are really kind of that opportunity, because the trend is we need a new build. We need to add 1 million new homes. But there's 3 million to 4 million vacant homes in the US right now. And those are already in plots of land that are approved by the government. So you're not having to pass all these regulatory and zoning laws. You're just taking vacant and undesirable properties, fixing them up and bringing them back to your local community. And so the trend really being, it has to be new build, just in my opinion, isn't accurate. I think it's really about taking the properties that are already there and bringing them back to life. And a lot of our investors are really big into that. And it's something at New Western we definitely push, because the trend of high prices and everything else probably isn't going to, get better very in a quick manner. So you might as well take what opportunities are given to you. And if that means not waiting for new builds to happen, I think people can get ahead by doing that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Before we got on here, I was actually watching a video from a guy who teaches you how to buy land and build. He's got a whole course process. But that's something I've been thinking about doing. That makes a lot of sense, because it's a whole lot easier, or I wouldn't say necessarily easier, but quicker to find a home that just may not be livable right now and flip it and put it back out there into the marketplace where somebody can grab that instead of waiting for a new build to be completed. So that's definitely a good supplemental. I like that thought. Everybody's got their different thoughts. Nobody's, I would say, is right about one thing. I think it all plays into each other.
Yeah.
We need all of it going at the same time.
Yeah, that's very true. You can't just have one.
To reach that goal.
Yeah.
So for somebody tuning in, listening to this or watching this right now, we're sitting here talking about flipping properties, distressed properties. Can you walk us through some of the challenges that come with renovating and rehabbing properties and how investors can overcome these hurdles?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the biggest challenges is just being new to it. And some of those things you just have to really kind of find a mentor or find someone who's, able to kind of guide you through it. There's a lot of our investors are very big on being their own general contractor. They know what they're doing. They can get a house flipped in 2 to 3 months, but that's not your average person starting out. Trying to learn as much as you can as far as before you get into it, understanding what the average prices are for your house square foot or the things you're trying to do, so that when you're talking with a contractor or someone giving you a bid, you can understand, is this priced right? Are they trying to maybe upcharge me here, or am I missing something here? It's really understanding that you need to go into your property, try to find a good property from someone reputable that has enough room to make the repairs and then make money on your flip for the ARV. So as you're calculating that out, you have your spread. And going over budget can be easy because things come up. But as long as you have a budget and you're trying to understand what is going to make this house come back to the market for the most amount of money or become a rental for the right type of renter at the right price, you have to plan it out. So you have to know your flooring costs and you have to stick to that. You have to understand what needs to be done in the house so that your rehab budget is aligned with your after repair value, and bringing it back to the market for someone that is going to come into that house and say, this is my new home. You want to make changes that aren't just quick fixes. Obviously, the quicker they happen, the sooner it's on the market, but you don't want to shortchange something and then a buyer walks in and is like, ooh, I wouldn't have done that. So you have to keep them in mind, but you also have to keep your budget in mind. So just kind of understanding the end goal instead of just jumping into it. My wife and I just bought a house that needs a ton of work. And one of the biggest things was there were so many things that needed to be fixed that it was almost overwhelming. And so it really took time to sit down with the contractor and say, here's step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's make it safe for your kids. Let's make it aesthetically pleasing. And then step 3 is let's do the upgrades that are going to make you happiest. Because we don't want to flip it or sell it right now. We want to live in it a little bit right by the kids' elementary school. But without that plan, we would have just blown all the money on stuff that didn't matter. And maybe we left out safety things when that should have been priority 1, just because you want the kitchen counters. Well, if the counters are fine, probably do foundation. You know what I mean? So there's just a lot of that goes into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally relate to that. I actually just bought a home with creative financing. I'm sure you've probably heard of it, Sub 2.
Yeah.
And I got a really great deal on it because 1, the situation, but 2, the home needs some work, but it's in a great area. So that was a good thing. And for what I got it for, it just made a lot of sense. And it just happened to be what I needed for our family at the time. So I was like, well, instead of flipping this or doing something else with it, I'm just going to move into it myself. You talk about blowing a lot of money, you can easily do that. And I think, one thing that people need to hear and understand, especially if you're new to this, is, you can't just go in and flip a home how you want it and spend money frivolously on certain areas that are not even going to matter. Spend a lot of money on it and you're not going to get a lot of return on your investment. I don't know if a lot of people know, but especially being in real estate for 7 years like I have, I've learned what appraisers look for, what they give value for, and how much value they give something for. Usually like kitchens and bathrooms are probably where you're going to get the most ROI spending something on. But just like I was saying, I was watching a video earlier, from a builder that teaches you how to build. And he was just talking about how he learned early on not to spend a ton of money on windows, because he did that and he lost a lot of money. So I just say all that to say you really got to be careful, what you're spending money on, and you've got to learn those areas such as the kitchen and the bathroom, and then not just, go buy the most expensive, nicest thing because it looks good. When you're flipping a home, you want to make it comparable to the other homes there in the area.
Definitely. Yeah, and another big one is landscaping. If you can make a family fall in love as they drive up, that makes a huge impact as well. So that's another one.
Absolutely. Yeah. They call it the curb appeal, right? Psychological. No, the psychology doesn't give actual dollar value. It just makes it more appealing and easier for somebody to buy a home. When they roll up, it looks beautiful. It looks clean. It looks nice. It looks presentable. And then when you walk in the door, same thing. Everything looks good. It's clean. It's maintained. It's well taken care of. So you're all good to go with that. What advice would you give to real estate investors looking to grow their rental portfolio in today's market?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice there is trying to understand the different options to growing a rental portfolio. Something we see a lot of investors doing is doing the BRRRR method. So buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And so you buy the house that needs a lot of work. You buy it at a certain percent to ARV, you rehab it, and then get a renter in there, refinance it, and then you repeat. And so you can use a bridge loan. We own Sherman Bridge, which has basically a marketplace for lenders, and several of them have options to where you get that upfront hard money, you fix it, you pull your money out with a DSCR loan or a bridge loan, and then you basically take the cash that you pulled out and put it into your next property. And so you're not having to kind of spend all your cash at once. You can kind of put some in, take some out, and as you grow your portfolio, you're still having cash to keep doing that, but your equity is still grown because you're buying at a discount, rehabbing for instant equity, and then pulling out that cash and then cash flowing. And sometimes you have to leave a little more in because cash flow with higher interest rates can be tough, but finding the right property really still is the number one thing to grow in your portfolio. You got to find the right property at the right price, the right neighborhood that you want to hold on to. And then you grow it either with that method or, I'm sure there's other methods out there that work, but that tends to be the one we see the most common.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm hearing is you definitely got to do your due diligence. It doesn't matter if you're buying a property investment wise to flip it, or whether you're looking to buy and hold as a rental. You got to do your due diligence up front and make sure you find the right property and make sure you secure it for the right price as well. You mentioned you were talking about there a bridge loan. So New Western, I know you mentioned earlier that you mainly buy, homes cash, but so you've got a bridge loan. Are there other like financing capital sources that y'all use?
Yeah, so on the front end, we buy all of ours cash, but a lot of our investors use hard money loans, private money loans, bridge loans, DSCR loans for those that qualify. And those options really just make it easy to close on time and basically do the rehabs, because a lot of the properties we buy, you wouldn't be able to go out and get with a traditional mortgage because it's not going to kind of fit that criteria because they need a ton of work. So your average buyer couldn't even probably get a loan on that house because it's not going to pass the required steps for the lender, the appraiser, and everyone else. But when you're doing a hard money loan, you come with a plan and they understand, they run the numbers, they look at the ARV, what you're trying to do with the house, and they give you that hard money, which comes with a higher percentage on it, but it's typically, 6 months, and then you're paying it back because you flipped it, or you're refinancing into a different loan with them, so that initial loan, then with the equity you put into it and the higher ARV or the higher price tag because you made those required repairs and made it look pretty and rentable, then you're refinancing and kind of moving on to your next property. So the hard money, private money is definitely a source that there's probably a lot of people that don't utilize it, but it's something we've seen be incredibly successful for our investors who don't have all cash. Those are kind of your next best options.
Yeah, would you say that definitely helps like newer investors help be able to get started? because a lot of people think that you got to use your own money. A lot of people don't even get started or delay or never get started because they think they got to have their own money. They're waiting to build their own credit.
Yeah, because it's so common to hear people are buying it up with cash, but the majority of the people aren't buying all cash. People that are, I mean, that's awesome. But there's so many people that don't buy all cash that are still making real estate investing work for them. But those are the people that are really finding the right sources to buy houses and understanding the numbers, because you have to come to your lender knowing your plan for it, and they'll work with you on that. They'll answer your questions. That's their main product. So there's people that do it in teams and pool their money together. There's people that kind of put more money down or put less down, depending on how many different projects they're trying to take on. But pooling money together is another option too. It's just, you gotta make sure you really trust the people you're getting into that kind of LLC partnership with. If you want to have long-term friendships, stay long-term friendships.
Yeah, you definitely got to be careful who you get into partnerships with. I've learned that the hard way a few times myself, so I've already paid for that schooling. Yeah. So if somebody wanted to become a part of New Western, what would they need to do?
So really, you would go to our website and fill out the form. It's just invest with us. And really, one of our agents, so we have local agents in each of our markets that are specialized in real estate investment. And they're not your typical agent that's going to list your house. They're going to help you find investment properties that fit your buy box. And your buy box is really just, you come to us and say, I want this many beds, this bath, this price point, and these zip codes. And we'll tell you, here's what we've got this month, here's what we've got coming up on the board. And then we'll keep you kind of up to date with properties, and you can join our marketplace. But really, you talk to our agent in the market you're desiring, whether that's one market or 20 markets. We have 35. So if you want to buy across the country, feel free. If not, you can join one market and look at homes on our marketplace. And that's, a real-time feed of properties you can buy. And then you sign a disclosure that says we're not going to go around you with the properties you're bringing us, and you can have properties to your inbox in 30, 45 minutes.
That's awesome. So just to clarify, what are all the different ways that the New Western will help somebody when they join them?
Yeah, so we'll break down the ARV, we'll break down the rehab numbers with you. We'll walk you through the best strategies for that house. If you come to us and you say, I want to rehab a house and turn it into an Airbnb, the numbers look different. And so we'll have to find you the property in the right area that makes sense for that. If you want a long-term, if you want a short-term, there's now a lot of mid-term options where you're actually dividing up the house, or you want to fix and flip and start your next project again in 3 months. Working with us, you get the local expertise. We know down to the zip codes what houses are selling for. We know the ARVs because we do a transaction every 13 minutes nationally. We were the largest home buyer in the country last year, private home buyer, and that gives us a lot of data to arm our agents with to help you be the most successful you can be by not just willy-nilly throwing out an ARV. We're telling you what we know because we have to buy the house first, and we're not going to buy a house that doesn't make sense because we want you to be successful and then be a repeat customer. So we definitely help them find the right house and then help them make sure that their plan for it is going to be successful.
So you're pretty much a strategic partner in helping analyze and underwrite as well as funding the deal.
Yeah, you can essentially work with us to get any of the lenders on Sherman Bridge, and we'll get you hooked up on that end too.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Kurt. Thanks for coming on the show today. I really appreciate having you on here. Definitely a lot of value in today's episode. How can people reach out to you?
Yeah, you can go to newwestern.com. We have, if you're a seller, we work with direct to seller. We work with a lot of wholesalers. We have an entire program built around that, where wholesalers, if they have a property under contract, they can send it to us and we'll buy it and disposition it for them. We work with real estate agents. We'll help you with your sellers of difficult properties, but also any investor can go to newwestern.com and hit the invest with us button and get in contact with us. So newwestern.com. And then we also have Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. So anywhere there's always a button to click, call us, and we'll get you in contact with the right agent in the right market. So
awesome. Yeah. Thank you very much, man. And thanks everybody for listening in today. Make sure you check out the show notes or description for links to different companies on how to start a business, how to manage a business, and how to scale a business, as well as real estate investing. And I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining me on the Real Estate and Business Success Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's insights and are ready to apply these strategies to your own business endeavors. If you found value in the episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit. Stay tuned for more interviews with successful entrepreneurs and actionable advice to drive your business forward. Until next time, keep pushing for success, and remember, success is just around the corner.